Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal for about one more day, and then that's going to change. Final day at Goal. Well, actually, technically, my final day at Goal is on June 14th, but I'm on holiday from today until then. So this is my last working day as Goal's Arsenal correspondent. As I'm sure plenty of you are aware, I've already sort of announced that I was leaving after the final game of the season. But yeah, this is my final working day. So I'm still going to be on here. You're still going to be seeing my videos. As I said, hopefully you're going to be seeing more videos from me in the future as I try something new, shall we say. And all will become clearer on that over the next month or two as I try and get everything up and running. But you're certainly still going to hear from me. You're certainly still going to be able to read stuff from me. And more about that will be revealed fairly soon, and hopefully be able to hear more of me as I maybe look at finally, as so many of you asked me to do, move into the world of podcasting to talk all things Arsenal as well. So although this is the end of one chapter, then there's going to be plenty more to come, so keep your eyes peeled. And from between now and the next 2 weeks or so, I am busy finishing off my book, which of course comes out at the end of August. Revolution, the rise of Arteta's Arsenal, which became a bit of a harder sell with each defeat towards the end of the season. But as I said when I started writing it, it wasn't based on Arsenal winning the title or anything. It's just based on the story of what's gone on since he arrived and all the changes, COVID era, players leaving, the sort of birth of this new vibrant young team and the upward trajectory Arsenal is on. It's been a lot of fun to write. I've nearly finished it. I've still got a fair bit to do, which is going to keep me very busy over the next 2 weeks or so, but it is on its way, and that comes out on August the 31st. You can pre-order it now, of course, which many of you already have, and I appreciate that. I'll put the link down below as well. If you haven't done it yet, then links below. Once you've watched this video, give it a click, pre-order, and it will be winging its way to you at the end of August. Okay, plenty to talk about today. A bit about Declan Rice. Transfers obviously dominating things at the moment. We'll talk about Folarin Balogun. I think that's a really interesting debate this summer with Balogun. We'll talk a little bit about Kieran Tierney, perhaps. Jorginho's agent's been speaking, and I'm going to have a little bit to say about Jose Mourinho as well, after the dreadful scenes we saw at Budapest airport yesterday with Anthony Taylor. But we'll start with Declan Rice, who is busy preparing for West Ham's big Conference League final against Fiorentina, which is coming up. David Moyes is speaking this morning in his press conference ahead of that game, so he might get some comments from David Moyes, but I suggest that he will do everything he can to avoid creating any more of a story out of Declan Rice ahead of that final, because West Ham understandably just want to concentrate on the football, which Declan Rice has said himself as well. But that doesn't stop the stories coming out. We've seen plenty over the last week or so, and there's more at the moment. Apparently he does not really want to entertain a move to Bayern Munich. It doesn't surprise me that is the case. And Bayern, a fantastic club, obviously real chance of winning lots of things if you go to Bayern Munich, but I always thought when I saw the stories about Bayern, it didn't feel like Declan Rice's next move to me. I thought he would probably end up staying in Premier League. That appears to be his preference. He wants to stay, and Arsenal still in pole position to get it done. I think we're going to see it really speed up once the Conference League final is out of way. I think that's basically going to be the starting point for all the bids to start going in from all the interested parties, and then it's going to be a case of meeting West Ham's valuation, agreeing something with them, and then agreeing something with Declan Rice. I think Arsenal are in a very strong position from what I understand with Declan Rice, but look, you've still got to get this deal done. We've seen Arsenal being in a very strong position with other players in recent transfer windows, and they haven't been able to get the deal done, and someone's come in and signed them ahead of him. Hopefully that doesn't happen with Declan Rice, as I've already made my feelings clear on him and how important I think he would be to Arsenal and the project going forward. Folarin Balogun is another player who's constantly in the headlines at the moment. He's just been called up by the US for the first time. He's who have they got? They've got Mexico coming up in their Conference League. And I think that's when he's expected to make his debut on June the 15th. So he's been called up to the training camp and squad for the first time, along with Matt Turner and Austin Trusty. So 3 Arsenal players included in the USA squad for that upcoming training camp and game. And Balogun does so with his future very much up in the air, with lots of debate about where he will be going and what he will be doing next season. Personally, for me, I've had lots of questions. Lots of you always reply in the comments and do it on my other social media accounts as well about why are we selling Balogun? Why would we sell him? Surely he's got to stay. He's got to stay. But it's not as easy as that. I think you have to weigh everything into account when it comes to certain players and certain deals. And the thing with Balogun, he's only got 2 years left on his contract. And so you need him to sign a new contract if he's going to stay at Arsenal. You don't want it to drag on. And it doesn't appear, anyway, like he's in any rush to do that. And I'm not surprised. He is just coming off the back of a fantastic season in France on loan. He's got lots of clubs interested in him. He absolutely wants to carry on playing week in, week out, which is 100% understandable at his age and given the form he showed last season. And he knows he's not going to get that opportunity at Arsenal, so he's not going to sign a new contract. And so if Arsenal don't sell this summer, then suddenly he's into the final year of his contract. He could have a poor season next season on loan wherever he goes, because I imagine he would go on loan. But even if he stayed at Arsenal and he only got a few minutes here and there, say like Nketiah has, then his value's going to go. He's going to drop fairly significantly because he's only got a year left in his contract, because he hasn't had such a good season. And so from an Arsenal point of view, I think you've got to look at it like this. I think reluctantly, sometimes you have to sell and you have to pick the right times to sell. Arsenal have done that poorly a lot of times with a lot of players, and they've ended up being costly mistakes. I mean, Maitland-Niles, I always bring it up as a prime example of that. Arsenal could have got £20 million for Maitland-Niles. They chose to reject that offer from Wolves. They kept him. He didn't play. His value plummeted. They couldn't sell him, and now he's going away on a free transfer this summer. You cannot allow that to happen with Folarin Balogun. So I think sometimes reluctantly you have to think, you know what, obviously it would be nice to keep this player, but it's not going to work. The contract's an issue. We're going to have to sell. And that's why I think when so many people ask me, why are we selling Balogun and not selling Nketiah, it's just not as simple as that. And also, I think Nketiah gets a lot of grief. And Balogun, because he's had a good season in Rome, and it has been a really good season, people just think that he's definitely 100% better than Eddie Nketiah. But you've got to remember, Lacazette's just scored 31 goals in France this season. And, I don't want to sit here and absolutely hammer the French league because I don't watch enough of it to know exactly how good it is. But the fact that Lacazette has scored 31 goals for Lyon this season, considering how he's performed at Arsenal in the previous couple of years, that's, I think, I'd be interested to see how many goals Nketiah scored next season if he played every single game, if he started every single game for a team in France, put it that way. And so I don't necessarily think just because Balogun scored all these goals for Reims, that means he necessarily would come here and score all these goals for Arsenal and completely outscore Eddie Nketiah for Arsenal. So I think you've got to balance the things up a little bit. And for me, I look at Balogun this summer and I think you've got to sell. I just don't see there's any other option for Arsenal because he's not going to play next season. And if he does, he's only going to get a few minutes. He's not going to sign a new contract. His value's going to plummet and then you're stuck. So I think you've got to look at it this summer and think, you know what? It's time to sell. Let's get as much money as we possibly can. There's lots of interest in him. Let's sell, move on, and have that money reinvested elsewhere. Milan, Napoli, Monaco, I think, Marseille, lots of clubs sniffing around Balogun. There's going to be plenty of Premier League clubs looking for him as well. There's going to be a big, big market for him. Everyone wants a striker. Everyone wants a young, impressive striker. I just think you sell. I think you have to. And if he goes on and becomes an absolute superstar, it's one of those that you just think, you know what, the time wasn't right. I look at Joe Willock, that was Arsenal did so well with that deal. They sold it at the exact right time. He's gone on, he's been really important for Newcastle, very good player for them. He's developing into this wonderful player. That wouldn't have happened at Arsenal because he wouldn't have played all the minutes to be able to progress the way he has done for Newcastle. But Arsenal got a very, very good fee for him and have been able to spend that money elsewhere. I just look at that and I look at Balogun now and I think it's the exact same situation. So that's my thoughts on it, but let me know what you guys think. I'm sure plenty of you will disagree with me and you think Balogun should be staying, but let me know exactly why in the comments below. Jorginho's agent has been speaking about potential new contract and says he's not worried about it, and I'm not surprised. Really, I thought it was quite interesting the fact this has even been talking about. Said it's quoted, which is what João Santos says: "Have we already talked about the renewal of a contract? No, not yet. For now, we are calm." And they should be calm. I don't see why this is even a thing, really. Jorginho's got another year left on his contract, and there's an option to extend it for another one. So basically, he's got a contract if Arsenal take it up until 2025. He's into his 30s now. I looked at the Jorginho signing basically as an extended loan. It wasn't that expensive. I think they paid about £8 million for him. Gave him a 1.5-year deal with the option if they wanted to extend it. It was just a loan deal to buy them time. They're going to spend big in midfield this summer. They couldn't do it in January. They wanted Caicedo. It didn't happen. So they went to Jorginho and basically signed him on an extended loan. That's how I looked at it. And I think it's been a really good signing. I think Jorginho's been excellent. Played really, really well. Done exactly what Arsenal would have wanted him to do once they brought him in from Chelsea. But, I can't see any way that Jorginho ever gets another contract at Arsenal. Maybe the option gets taken up, but I can't imagine he gets a new contract at Arsenal. It'd be a bit of a surprise. Look, that's just me saying it as opinion. It might, maybe he's really, really impressed Arsenal and they decide to do it at some point, but I'd be very, very surprised. I just think it was a sort of stopgap type signing that's been a really good signing. He's done really well, massively influential off the pitch as well as on it. And I think it's been a great signing, but I just can't see him ending up with a new deal. I think he'll probably move on, maybe go back to Italy for the final couple of years of his career at the end of next season, but we shall see on that. And I wanted to talk about Jose Mourinho, and I don't know if you've seen it yet. I'm sure you probably have the video that was doing the rounds of Anthony Taylor and his family being basically assaulted at the airport. No punches were thrown or anything, but it was very, very close to that. The look on his kid's face, utter fear at the airport. There was chairs being flung once he got through the door. Honestly, it was disgraceful. And look, everyone can criticise referees. I do it. I've done it plenty of times. But I think when you're someone as high profile as Jose Mourinho, there is a line. And I think he massively overstepped that line. The video, and he knew he was on video. After the game, after the final, having a go at Anthony Taylor down underneath the stadium. And he was looking at the camera. He knew he was on video. He knew this video was going to go everywhere. And he kept on doing it. He stirred the pot. And it has consequences. I 100% do not think what happened at the airport yesterday would have happened if Mourinho hadn't done what he'd done. And I've had so much grief on social media, which always happens, for putting that out, for putting that, Jose fueled those scenes himself and that the book should be thrown at him by the authorities. Now, I've had so much grief from it. Honestly, some of the replies have just made me cringe. Basically absolving Mourinho of any blame of that situation. And I just think it's remarkable. It's the same as saying that Trump wasn't responsible for what happened to the White House when it was stormed by his supporters a couple of years ago. If you're that high profile and you say stuff and do stuff that's that inflammatory, it's going to have consequences, and it had bad consequences yesterday. And I think it needs to be a tipping point for managers. Can have a go at referees, they can complain at decisions, but you've got to do it at the right time and in the right way. When you absolutely overstep the mark like Mourinho did, and this isn't the first time Mourinho's done it, he does it all the time. Look at his record this season for Roma and the issues he's had with referees. And no, I'm not a Mourinho fan at all, never have been, never will be. I think he's a brilliant manager. I think what he's done in his career is absolutely amazing. Hold my hands up, full respect for him for that. But I hate the way he plays football, and I hate the way he acts, and I hate the siege mentality that he tries to create. It's been very successful for him, fair play, but I hate the way he does it, and it has consequences. We see it time and time again, and we saw it yesterday at the airport. And I really do hope that it's a bit of a tipping point for how the authorities deal with these sorts of situations, because that was horrible for Anthony Taylor yesterday, and for his family and for his children. No one should have to go through that. I didn't even think he did a bad job in the final either. And I know lots of people complain about that. Certainly Roma fans complain about that. But I don't think he did it under unbelievably stressful circumstances because of the way Mourinho, his bench, the Sevilla bench, everyone, the players, everyone was acting in that game. It was just totally out of control. And I don't even really know what else he could have done. He refereed it pretty well under the most trying of circumstances, I think. And I'm not even an Anthony Taylor fan. I think he's a pretty poor referee at times. But I thought it was well over the line what Mourinho did, and I hope they throw the book at him. But I'm sure you're all going to disagree, and I'm sure I'm going to get all the Mourinho lovers replying in the comments to this video, just as you have been on my social media since that tweet I put out last night. But don't care. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Appreciate your time as always. Please do have a very good day. I'll be back tomorrow as we start to gear up towards the final 2 European finals of the season, the FA Cup final, and then it is fully into transfer window, silly season, whatever you want to call it. Have a great start to the weekend. I'll speak to you soon.